Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Jerry Sansing, and this is the What's Going On in Corpus Christi show. It's predominantly as a result of me being the president of the Taxpayers Association, Corpus Christi Taxpayers Association, and I do this to present to the public some of the programs and the concerns and so forth that the Taxpayers Association has. I would like to start by saying that we've got our board meetings on the first Saturdays of each month, unless it's posted otherwise. This past July, or this month, it was the 4th of July, so we extended that to the second Saturday, which was the 11th. And I'll give you an update on that meeting. And so over the course of the next few months, we've got the meeting will be August 1 at 2 o'clock at the Small Planet Delicatessen on that's Staples and Saratoga. It's right behind several fast food facilities. There's a little strip center there, and it's just next to the big pharmacy there on the corner. So please join us in the back room. And then on September the 5th, if you can make that one, if you can't make the August 1 date. And then October 3rd would be our October meeting, same place and station. And then on October 24th, which is a Saturday, we have the full membership meeting. Now, the board meetings are open to any members that want to come and discuss plans and so forth, and discuss issues that we are very interested in within the city, county, state, and so forth. So please join and join us and come over and express your opinions about some very important matters that we have going on in Corpus Christi, Texas. Now, the place on October 24th is yet to be determined. I've got a weekly show here, so I'll announce that in plenty of time if you can make that one. That's always a very interesting meeting. Okay. And I'm going to talk about some things that our members have had some issues with, and requests for me to look into, and requests for me to pass on to you fine taxpayers out there. Okay, now item number one, it's been a while since the Department of Justice, who does the American Disabilities Act, they're in charge of that, okay, they had indicated that they were going to look into the fact that the sidewalk at the Gulfway Shopping Center that's out on SPID and Airline is, they've got palm trees growing up through there, and it's encumbered and inhibited the access along that sidewalk, okay, for anyone that's wheelchair bound. I'll spit it out sooner or later, and or on a walker. So you can't get by there. There's a 16-inch clearance between the road and the tree, and then the tree and the sidewalk bunker. So we've been in contact, predominantly Mr. Jack Gordy, with the Justice Department to find out why that was not complied with, and why the city has not cut down those palm trees, dug the roots out, and filled in the holes. Now, Mr. Gordy's been told at one time that the city can't afford to do that. So I don't know if we're so destitute these days. It doesn't seem like it, with all the other golly gee whiz stuff that the city council and mayor approve of. But I would think that they would want to become, and go into compliance with ADA. Our new esteemed city attorney says that they have a stay of execution on that. They have a waiver from Department of Justice so that they don't have to mess with that. So I would like to see a copy of it. It's been requested, but no copy has been coughed up to this point. So if you are disabled and you need to get down the sidewalk over there at Gulfway Center, and you need to get around those palm trees, there's only one alternative for you, and that's to get into the street, that busy Airline, and try to make it down that curb, the gutter, and then back up onto the sidewalk. And there are 3 or 4 trees, so you're going to have to make that a marathon run. So I'd just like to say, for the city's sake, that I wish you'd get cranking and do the right thing for our disabled people around here. And then in conjunction with that, this amazes me. I get this through the Del Mar College email that I'm a faculty member at Del Mar College. But this came out the other day, and it says you're invited to the ADA 25 celebration and awards luncheon July 24th, 2015. And I'll just read some of this. It says the July 26, 2015 marks the 25th anniversary of the Americans with Disabilities Act, and communities around the country are coming together to celebrate the promise and impact of the ADA. Okay? Locally, ADA 25 Partnership for Coastal Bend is hosting an awards luncheon and celebration on Friday, July the 24th, 2015 at the OVL Williams Community Center at 11:30 a.m. And then it goes on to say the ADA 25 Partnership event will recognize the individuals, organizations, and businesses contributing to access and inclusion for people with disabilities in our region. Okay? Participation in the event will celebrate the promise of the ADA and recommitment to the principles and achievements of the ADA going forward. We encourage your support. And then it says below is the registration link. You have to register for that. So if anyone is out there is interested in this, would you please email me at gsanson@gmail.com, and I'll forward this email to you if you want to register. Now, what I find so ironic here is it says the event will recognize the individuals, organizations, and businesses contributing to access and inclusion for people with disabilities in our region. Well, City of Corpus Christi, why don't you go out there and straighten that sidewalk out? And I hope that you're not up for some big celebration and some big award for tearing up other corners and so forth in residential neighborhoods and so forth, and not taking care of the vets along one of the busiest streets, which is Airline, in the city. I mean, I don't understand it. And then we've got we've got people at the city that are employed by the city that can't cough up the information that's requested when somebody wants to see the waiver that the city of Corpus Christi has for not fixing and not conforming to ADA regulations and so forth along Airline at the Gulfway Shopping Center. Okay, I'd like to see that. Okay, that was the first item on here. Then the item with the city annex. Here's the Bayfront Park, folks. Now what's going on these days is we have time closing out for input, and that's our Corpus Christi 2035 plan. And I think Monday, this won't air for another week, but that would be this coming Monday is the last chance you get for input into what you want to do with the city for 2035. All I say is let's back up and figure out what we're going to do for 2016 and work that out and start with some of this mess we've got around here. Okay? Then there was another one that was on the Bayfront. I think there's a proposal here going on for that. It says city aims to develop park. That came out on the 11th of this month. Okay? And this is where they're going to try to use the $5.1 million excess on one of the bonds to when they made that miserable attempt to tidy up the shoreline down there and reroute that into one of the most dangerous streets I've driven in many, many a year, and spent all that money for that. And now, since people have voted down the destination Bayfront soundly, then they want to go down there and build that park. And they've ruined the shoreline view of the marina down there in the bay. It's an abortion, folks. I hate to use that term, but it is an abomination. Maybe that's a better one to describe that. It's a mess, is what it is. It's a disaster. So anyway, if you haven't spoken up about the Bayfront, then you may want to go ahead and do that. I think they're going to call that the Bayshore Park. Okay. So I don't know what to tell you. All I know is I fought tooth and nail to try to save the Coliseum down there. There's still several of us, 5 of us, that are under the gun for being sued by the city for damages, which their contract with the demolition company, when they were finally tore down, that architecturally significant and beautiful structure down there. Re-roofing would have been a whole lot cheaper than what they're trying to do now, but you can't convince these business people around here, the real estate cartel known as city council, of anything around here. It's all about them trying to make money at your expense, and I imagine they do a pretty good job of that. If you look at if you could look at some of their banking accounts and savings accounts, they do pretty well at your expense, ladies and gentlemen. I'm just waiting for you to finally rise up and say no moss to that and go ahead and vote some of these bums out. Okay? I know I'm going to try like the Dickens to get people up off their backsides and go vote this time and say, hey, you know, we've got a lot of problems here. But to now develop a park down there and want to erect shade after you tore down a significant memorial to dead World War II veterans, that shows you true appreciation. And then they're going to, at the Memorial High School out there, they're going to want to invite a whole bunch of veterans to go out there and honor them. Well, I think you've dishonored World War II veterans big time, folks, and you slapped the public in the face by ripping that place down, and now you want to spend more money than it would be to re-roof that Coliseum and build bathroom facilities and so forth, and it's terrible. And now we have what I consider to be a knucklehead. I didn't think it could be any worse than the former knucklehead city attorney, but now he wants to go ahead and pursue, after the 13th Court of Appeals had said no, the Friends of the Coliseum did not cost you any money, they did not have you incur any damages down there, but he says in order to punish the citizens and keep them quiet and silence them, and so that they don't have any voice in this city anymore, then he wants to take that to the Supreme Court after the 13th Court of Appeals has kicked it back twice back to the city. So you need to call your city council person and raise a little bit of hell with that one. Okay, Ronald Norris, this was on the 16th of July. Bayshore Park, ? This goes hand in hand with what I just said. We voted down destination Bayfront. Now we have Bayshore Park, 34 acres. Smooth move, City Council. Fix our streets. And that was the end of that. That's pretty self-explanatory. Then he said, I've been passing by this sign on Rodfield Road that reads your maintenance fee at work. My fee doesn't appear to be working much. This sign has been on the same street corner for about several months. Didn't the engineering department tell the Caller Times this work would be finished by the end of December? This type of work has been done when the temperature is 50 degrees and rising. Was the city expecting it not to be cold in December? Why is the Horn Road project taking so long? First, we were told it would be completed in April. Then we were told July. That July was not correct, but May would be the month for completion. So which date is it now? We taxpayers voted on a huge bond project with the promise that these projects would be completed on time. We're paying $500,000 for a couple of consultants, and the engineering department has created more management positions. By the looks of the thing so far, the only thing we seem to be getting for our money is the runaround. Okay? Well, I agree there. This was Sandra Prado. Okay, so keep up the letters, folks. You know, I don't think the city council members read the Caller Times and the letters to the editor, and they ignore you completely. You know, they say we want your input, and then you give them your input, and then they throw it in the trash can. Okay? And then we've got notice of intention to issue City of Corpus Christi, Texas certificates of obligation. And what they're going to do with this one, this hearing is going to be at 11:30 a.m. on August the 25th, 2015. You may want to go down there. But they're looking at roughly $2 million. And the purpose is constructing, acquiring, purchasing, renovating, equipping, enlarge, and improving the city's parks and recreation facilities, and then including roof repairs on some of the senior citizens' buildings. Okay? Now, does that include a little bit of money to go into this Bayshore Park? City Council? Okay. Number 2, the cost of related landscaping and the purchase of materials, supplies, equipment, machinery for authorized needs and purposes related to the aforementioned capital improvements. And 3, the payment of professional services related to the design, construction, project management, and financing of the aforementioned projects. The certificates of obligation, will be payable from the levy on an annual ad valorem tax within the limitations prescribed by law upon all taxable property within the city, and from a lien on the pledge of certain revenues derived by the city from the operation of the city's solid waste system. Okay? In other words, taxpayers, you're going to have to cough up some more so they can go monkey around with that. Okay. Now, another problem that we are faced with, and another taxpayer outrage, the members of the Taxpayers Association came out the other day on the 11th, and when it was put in the Caller Times that Las Brisas plan leaders indicted. If convicted, the two could pay $1.3 million. Now, the concern that I have been hearing from, and I'm deeply concerned, I was the chairman of the Clean Economy Coalition that fought from 2008 for at least 5 or 6 years to halt the building of Las Brisas Energy Center because of its total disaster as far as air pollution around here, killing babies and cardiac patients and ruining lungs and development of infants' lungs and so forth. Then, I've got a vested interest in this. Now, I sat back and watched the city council members at that time, some of them are still on the city council, vote to give Las Brisas Energy Center tax abatements. They promised them water permits so that they could use all our water up in the middle of a drought, and just generally would not recuse themselves when one of the city council members' wife was the public relations person pushing Las Brisas to the city council and everybody else, which I think is a despicable act, and to not recuse yourself from that vote. But, it's part of this real estate cartel, as I say. Okay. Now, then if the city council members and the county commissioners and everybody else around here had taken a look, no one in the countryside wanted Las Brisas Energy Center. But they said that the tax abatements that they were about to give them was an incentive for them to show good faith and make them feel comfortable coming to town and polluting the hell out of everybody. Okay? Killing babies and so forth. So again, folks, taxpayers out there and voters, even if you're not a registered voter, you should be as a taxpayer. Stick up for yourselves. Why can't you just go into the bathroom mirror right now after you see this show, if you watch it, and go in there and look at yourself and say, this really should make me very, very mad that the city and the city fathers and the county and everybody else are doing this to me. And then that's not to mention CCISD at times, and in particular these days Del Mar College Board of Regents. Okay? And I'm going to discuss that in just a moment. So a lot of the Taxpayers Association members are red hot mad about the city never checking out these marvelous things. They say it's too good to be true, and believe me folks, if something seems to be too good to be true, it probably is. Okay? Now, then we've got a bunch of stuff with the streets, okay? And then, let's see, on the 18th, Robert Black said, save costs, reduce work week. I thought this was great. Wow, 187,062 potholes patched by city crews in 8 months. We can save a fortune by taking a lesson from other successful cost-saving measures. Okay, reducing trash pickup from twice to once weekly cut the expense in half. Lawn watering only on trash days has prevented our lakes from going dry. We can minimize street repair and tear if driving to work is allowed only on your trash day. You can drive back home only on your recycle day. Okay? All right, and then there's one in here from William D. Bonilla Sr. Less talk, more action on the streets, and that's exactly what this was all about. He goes item by item and says that the following. This is his closing paragraph. Yes, the tourists bring in money to help hotels and restaurants, and they do pay a sales tax when they make purchases, but they are not here 365 days per year. It is not time that we become productive instead of trying to educate us on the need for repairing the streets. Okay? I don't know. I'm not fond of all that hoopla over let's bring in a bunch of tourists and then have the tax money do other things other than repair the streets that those people are driving on also. All right, and then so we've got a lot of things that are going on, certificates of the obligation and so forth, and then there was some, they're asking for input on the Oso Bay Preserve. Why they ask for your input, meaning the city, I don't know. They never listen to you anyway. So the only way you can get them to listen up, folks, is to just go ahead and ramp up the heat on them and say, hey, if you don't start performing pretty damn quick, we're going to vote you bums out of there. We're sick and tired of having our money flushed down the toilet every day, and nothing is being done. And then we'll get off on one of my favorite subjects, or I guess least favorite subjects, but it needs to be talked about. And those are the annex that go on every day at Del Mar College. Okay? Now, my group of taxpayers is extremely upset over the past 7 or 8 years with the lack of debt collection, okay, efforts at Del Mar College. So we have been talking about that for quite some time. A very dear friend of mine, Mr. Ed Bennett, who's got a bachelor's degree in accounting. He's got a master's of science degree in accounting. He's a CPA. He's been a CPA practicing with some of the largest corporations in the nation for over 30 years, and he knows what he's talking about. Now, most of you already know the background on this. I had asked for public information through Public Information Act for the write-offs and who was being written off and so forth for a certain period of time at Del Mar. I sorted through a 4 to 5 foot stack of information, just pages after pages, and I was interested in how we wrote off at that time and why we wrote off $185,000 plus. Now, there were 3 documents out of that 5 foot stack of documents that caught my eye, and that were those documents pointed out the individuals who owed Del Mar College money and were consequently didn't pay up, and the debt was written off. Now, the one that caught my eye first was Texas A&M University, Kingsville, for $54,000 some odd dollars. And then we have the Coastal Bend, what is that? Council of Governments, $89,000. Now, after we asked for more information to support that, which would have been, maybe a couple of hundred pages at the outside, we were told that the estimate for gathering that information was going to be $26.7 million to have Del Mar provide that information. It was going to take 120 man-years to do it, and that there were 105 million documents involved. Now, after some really bad press for Del Mar College and their CFO over there, the Chief Financial Officer, who is not an accountant, to my knowledge, has never had an accounting course. His background is in agricultural education, and he's the one in charge of the finances over there. Now, just recently, after the bad press, that there's an organization here, there are 2 people, it's called BS Investigations. that happens to be Bennett and Sansing. And we've been on their necks about this, and I've seen other things written off like $42,000 from the U.S. Navy and some other horrible things. But just recently, and this came out a couple of days ago in the Caller-Times, after Del Mar College had a board of regents meeting, back on the, I think it was the 14th, and I attended that and listened to all the blather going on, but they want to now write off $192,700 from 2012. Okay? Now, what Del Mar College has decided to do is they're blaming the vast majority of that debt on students that didn't pay loans back. Okay? Now, I asked for that in 2013 for all the information that would indicate that they were making a valid attempt to collect that money, and not a single piece of paperwork came my way except maybe some letters to the students saying, you know, if you don't pay up, then you'll never be able to get a transcript out of us. Well, big deal. They can go out here to A&M Corpus Christi or up to Beeville or Coastal Bend College or anywhere in the state and go ahead and take classes without having to provide that institution with any transcripts. Okay? And they can go and get a degree somewhere other than Del Mar College to do that. Now, I guess that BS Investigations has put enough pressure on Del Mar College to where now it says, here's the headline in the Caller-Times as a result of that July the 14th Board of Regents meeting. It says Del Mar College to ramp up debt collection efforts. And they're not going to do that until the spring semester. We're coming into the fall semester. And what they're going to do is they're going to turn the collection of the debts over to a debt collection agency and allow them to tack on an extra 30% in order to collect the debts. Okay? Now, I think there are more efficient ways to do it. And my question is, why haven't you been doing that in the past? Did it take two Taxpayers Association members raising hell for 2 years in order to get you people to do the right thing over there? So, taxpayers out there, join our group. You're welcome to come over. I gave you the information on when these meetings and so forth are. And then come over and let's see what we can do. Now, there's another instance where the Del Mar College has sanctioned through attorneys out of Austin, Texas, Graves Daughtry et al., okay, to go ahead and sue the Attorney General's office for information that the Attorney General's office told them to give to me. Okay? And they have refused to do that. And now, after the Attorney General rendered their opinion, give that information to Sansing, then they went ahead and held an open meeting. It was a disciplinary action against me. I wanted it open so that they would conform to the Texas Open Meetings Act. And that act was violated during that, plus the Texas Public Information Act was violated by Del Mar College during that hearing. And then what they've done is, since the AG said give it to me, I don't know what they're trying to hide from me. It's very simple information. But now they're spending a whole bunch of money filing a lawsuit through the 419th District Court in Travis County, Texas, against the Attorney General's office, and they want a repeat, and they want another opinion, or they want them to reconsider their opinion. Now, the Texas Public Information Act states very clearly that governmental agencies cannot ask for a reconsideration of any opinion that has been rendered by the Attorney General of the state of Texas. So I guess a lawsuit is not asking for a reconsideration, it's trying to force them into becoming silent. So once again, folks, please join us on the first Saturday of every month for the next 3 months at the Small Planet Delicatessen at the corner of Saratoga and Staples. At 2 o'clock in the afternoon, there's a little room in the back, meeting room, which is very pleasant, very quiet. So I'm going to go ahead, we're winding down with about 10 seconds left. So I'm going to say thank you very much for listening and pay attention, and I will join in 1 week with another edition of what's going on in Corpus Christi.